on a month-long journey through the nightmares with yet another film to check off that bucket list of terror. This is the third movie on this predetermined list of horror films that I'll be watching the month that I've seen before. And one of the films that I was actually really curious to revisit because I had some mixed feelings about it when I first saw it. I wanted to see what would change upon rewatch. This is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is essentially a mystery horror thriller about a mysterious corpse that is found in the middle of a massacre that oddly has no identification and is in pristine shape other than being dead. There's not a cut, scratch, scrape, bruise, anything on her body, and it's up to a father-son coroner duo to determine what happened to the poor girl. But when they open her up, they find that her insides tell a completely different story altogether. Her organs are badly scarred and burnt, her bones are shattered. She should be a mangled mess, and yet she's not. The more they dig into her past, the more they uncover about how they may not be able to answer the mysteries that surround her with science. Weird things begin to happen around them, and thanks to the storm outside, they are locked down there with her. This movie's great. I initially saw it all those years ago because everybody around me was essentially saying it's the best or one of the best horror films that they ever saw. And while I don't fully agree with that sentiment, I do understand where it's coming from. I understand why they say that because this film is pretty darn unique. So much of it feels original and it actually tries to creep you out on a much deeper level than typical horror films. First of all, when it's dealt with right, a morgue is a fantastic setting for a horror film and already gets you in the mood to be on edge. Second, if you hate to see like medical gore, then this film doesn't shy away from that at all. It acts like a really good, really smart mystery that honestly feels incredibly intelligent when it comes down to what coroners actually do during autopsies. And I'll admit that I was a little bit uncomfortable with just the medical stuff, but I was so invested in the mystery. The mystery was dealt with really, really well, and that's what a majority of what occurs during the first half of the film. Lots of father-son dynamics and drama and a heavy load of mystery surrounding this confusing dead woman. The second half of the film is just full-blown horror trope central. It takes its time to get there though, so I don't think the shift is all that traumatic when it happens. There's a lot of foreshadowing before it occurs too, so you're ready for it when it happens, and honestly I dug it. The second half of the film is honestly, it's scary, because the first half does such a remarkable job just crawling under your skin and making you uncomfortable. You're already in a vulnerable state, and this part of the movie is just a blast if you're a horror fanatic. This is the type of movie that I guarantee makes you want to look away, because you feel like, you know, something scary is gonna happen soon. Though, I did mention that certain things in the film limit my ability to consider it to be one of the best horror films all around, and that mostly has to do with the feeling that it's slightly too produced. Like, Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox are the lead actors here. They're both really well-known Hollywood actors, which you don't always see in horror. And don't get me wrong, they both do a great job. Honestly, their performances in the film help make it stand out even more. But there's also an element that goes with a well-known actor where the suspension of disbelief isn't as strong as it would be with a cast full of unknowns. And that's true for most horror films with well-known actors as well. Before Brian Cox was going to be playing the father, Martin Sheen was. And as weird as it sounds, I could see that. He's not as creepy as Cox can sometimes be, which helps Cox feel more natural as a coroner. But the innocence of Martin Sheen, I could see that too, because a big part of the film really is this father-son dynamic, which Sheen often does amazingly well with. Though this father is supposed to be somewhat distant, and I don't know, I think Brian Cox plays that off perfectly. Let's go ahead and break down my final score for a second though, which is A- letter grade. Final score of 88%, 88 out of 100 possible stars. Now you can see that even from a technical level, my unbiased score, I gave that a pretty great score, made even higher still by my personal bias score, meaning at the end of the day, this is a horror film that's well worth the watch. From the captivating mystery found at the heart of the film, the thrills that envelop it throughout the runtime, the scary visuals that build from the beginning all the way to the end, the performances that have no right to be as good as they are, to much more. This is a film that you can't be missing. But I would like to hear your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Is it the best horror film ever for you? Is it overrated? I want to hear your thoughts on it, so leave those in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe button, and the bell to be notified when I come out with my next horror film review. And until then, peace!